Framber Valdez says no thanks to the qualifying offer. The Astros have holes in the rotation. We're going to break it all down and see how they can steady the ship on tonight's Locked On Astros.
Jainel Diaz, this is Locked On Astros.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Astros, your daily Astros podcast. Here are your hosts, Eric the Man Huysman and Brett H-Town Wheelhouse Chancey.
We are Locked On Houston Astros, and we hope that you join us for a daily Locked On Astros podcast. My name is Eric Huysman. He is Brett Chancey. We are the Locked On Astros podcast, and we thank all the everydayers that make us part of your daily routine. Whether it's on YouTube, go ahead and subscribe to us. Go ahead and make us your first listen. Apple, Odyssey, Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcast, we'll go ahead and walk you through the chaos that's probably going to happen throughout this whole offseason. I know yesterday we talked about Justin Verlander. Is he going to come back? And I know some people are on board with that. Some people are not aboard with that. But Framber Valdez today, he went ahead and basically said his goodbyes by not accepting the qualifying offer. And then also Ramon Urias basically – it was shown the door as he was DFAed, and Miguel Ullola was added to the 40-man roster. But today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Download the app today, and thank you for making Locked On Astros podcast part of the #1 podcast network out there, Locked On. So, Brett, Framber Valdez. I changed the title. I put shocker. Framber Valdez officially rejects the Astros qualifying offer. Are you surprised at all?
No, I'm not. I love how you tried to make it a little more salacious and shocking as it actually is. But Eric, here's the thing. Truth be known, this is a guy that was discovered under a non-lit baseball field where headlights were shining on it. A scout had a favor that was done by a Houston Astros scout, saw him throw his curveball and paid him very little money and became one of the best pitchers, or their ace for the last few years. 81 and 52 with the Astros in his career, over 1,000 innings pitched, over 1,000 strikeouts. Replacing him is going to be somewhat of a tall order. But I do think that from what Dana Brown's saying, they're very confident, obviously, in Hunter Brown. They're now ace. They are very confident in Javier coming back and making a very good upgrade from last year, and then Spencer Arrighetti. So that's good. You've got those guys to kind of keep things flowing. But look, Framber Valdez, one day before his 32nd birthday, rejects the $22 million offer. I mean, hey, if it's good enough for Trent Grisham, why isn't it good enough for Framber Valdez, right? Oh, you're on mute there, buddy.
Said, of course, a fourth outfielder is going to accept that $22 million. I would. If they're like, hey, Eric, we're going to pay you $22 million to sit on a bench for most of the games. Will you do that? Sure. Go and sign me up. But looking back at Framber Valdez, he went 13-11 last year with a 3.66 ERA with 2 complete games and 31 starts. And if you want to think, wow, that's pretty good. In his first 21 starts, he was 11-4 with a 2.62 ERA. He was striking out 141 batters over 134 innings. Then the tide turned a little bit. He was 2-7 over his last 10 starts with a 6.05 ERA, striking out only 46 hitters over 58 innings. And of course, that's when you saw the Astros kind of collapse. They went 25-9 and found themselves shy of the playoffs, 1 game shy of the playoffs. And a lot of people point to 1 game that he started. If he would have had a much better start, maybe the Astros would have been there. But this was the first time they're out from the playoffs since 2016. And no, I'm not blaming this all on Framber Valdez. There's a lot of different fingers to point at this year. But Framber Valdez, he probably was going to be too expensive. If he was going to stay in Houston, that ship would have already been set off to sea. I think that they would have probably already come up with some type of agreement for him to stay. But the good thing is the fact that Trent Grisham accepted that with the Yankees. Framber Valdez did not. That means the Astros will have a draft pick coming back. You already have the PPI pick coming back with Hunter Brown. So that's 2 extra draft picks that the Astros have for now. Yeah, the Astros could lose 2 draft picks if they sign a free agent that has a qualifying offer attached. Just saying.
That is true. And you know, there are some intriguing names, and we talked about them, the Michael King, Dylan Cease, Ranger Suarez, of course, the top 3 guys, not necessarily in that order. But you know, I like the possibilities of the Astros bringing in somebody like that. And again, his durability and his, oh, wow, it froze there. His durability and the innings he gave you, the ground ball inducing spin that he had, Eric. I mean, we've talked about his stats. We know what he is capable of doing. We know he's capable of the meltdown, right? Good Framber versus bad Framber. But make no mistake, he is going to be and is one of the most sought after free agent arms out there because of his track record. So he's more than likely going to go to a contender that's going to pay a lot of money. I just don't want to see him in a Dodgers uniform. Maybe go to the Mets or something like that.
As long as it's not the Mariners. I mean, that's
the the Mariners. Yeah. The Dodgers, I guess, National League, but yeah, definitely not the Mariners. But man, can you imagine if they added Framber? I don't want to think about it. Let's not put that on us, Ricky Bobby.
Well, Brett, they always say that man's best friend is a dog because they're always there for you. Well, a pitcher's best friend is a catcher, and he basically broke the unwritten rule. You don't up your catcher in front of everybody and basically show him up and throw at him. I know they said that was an accident. It wasn't on purpose, but we all saw the situation and how shocked Cesar Salazar was with the whole situation and the fact that he kind of called out the defense behind him. Of course, you're going to have some pitchers sometimes get frustrated and do that, but it's not the first time that after a bad defensive play, he kind of had a meltdown and kind of gave up some runs. But I think that Framber Valdez on the right team, maybe with the right pitching coach, the right manager, maybe you will say, hey, kid, shut up. You want to wear your own jersey? You want us to change our jersey for you? You want to wear this same jersey every time you start?
It works.
Who do you think you are? Who do you think you are?
I'm Framber Valdez. That's who he thought he was. And you know what? They did it. And it worked. But I am going to miss the really great moments that we have with Framber. I mean, this guy was phenomenal. So again, replacing him is probably going to take more than one person simply because going out and trying to replace him, even with Dylan Cease, Eric, Dylan Cease really between 5 and 6 innings average of an outing. So that means you're going to have a bullpen that's a lot more bolstered with him with that high price. Ranger Suarez probably more fits that bill than anybody out there right now. But like you said, there will be penalties for the Astros if they get somebody that has that qualifying offer attached.
And I just think that the Astros weren't able to meet what Framber Valdez is asking for. He's the premier left-hander out there at this time, and some team is going to give him some money. And if you think that we are disrespecting Framber Valdez at any point, we're just saying what we've seen. And would we love to have him on the team? Sure. Part of us some days are like, nah, we're good. But some days when he's on, he's one of the best pitchers in the league. And it's frustrating when he just comes totally undone, to quote Duran Duran. But it just sucks that he just couldn't really become that guy I think the Astros really, really wanted. But who knows? Maybe a change of scenery, maybe a change of pitching coach, maybe, like I said, a change of manager will do him good, to quote Sheryl Crow. So we'll go ahead and quote some more singers in a little bit, but we'll have to talk about a player that was traded for last year who is DFAed, and a little bit later on, we'll talk about some other players that may be non-tendered ahead of Friday's deadline. But guys, thank you for making the Locked On Astros podcast your first listen, whether it's on YouTube, Go subscribe to us. We are part of the number one podcast network out there, Locked On.
Hey there, everybody. It's A-Show Wheelhouse. I want to talk to you about our friends at FanDuel. FanDuel is the official sports betting partner of the NBA. The NBA is back, and no better place to get in the action than with FanDuel. And if you are a Rockets fan or not, the Rockets are red hot, and why not ride the hot hand with FanDuel? They have live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks, and they've already done plenty of those early in the season. Plus, you can even combine your live bets and same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. I mean, having KD, Amin Thompson, Alperen Şengün, Reed Shepherd, Tari Eason, I mean, the list goes on. The payout could be bigger than ever with the same-game parlay. So it keeps everything exciting, especially when your team's making that late push. So right now, FanDuel's giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA.
Hey guys, thank you for making Locked On Astros podcast your first listen. We'll be here all off season talking about whatever Dana Brown, Jim Crane, whoever is making the decisions over there decides to do with this team, because they're at a crossroads. And like you can only hear on the Locked On Astros podcast, Brett Chancey thinks that they're going to replace Framber Valdez with Justin Verlander and give him the exact innings, exact amount of strikeouts, everything word for word. That's what you're hearing.
That is exactly. Yes, if you read the comments, you would think that I'm saying JV is going to be our new ace. No, here's the thing, to put context with the Justin Verlander talk, for those of y'all maybe who have not listened this week or have not been watching, Justin Verlander slides in as a 4 or 5 guy only if as a complement to a bigger piece pitching wise. And so I think the Astros, if they go out and get that bigger piece, you bring in Justin Verlander. He's your seasoned veteran. He's got the accolades. He's got the World Series. He's got the playoffs. He's got the experience. And this is a guy that was much better in the second half than he was in the first half. And if you can build the 6-man rotation the way you want to, then Justin Verlander won't be as taxed as he is on a typical 4 or 5-man rotation. So I think he comes in as a complementary piece for the Astros, not as someone who is a mainstay or the ace. Obviously, he's beyond that.
Well, that is a good segue for our next topic, which is Ramon Urias. He was somebody that the Astros traded for. Of course, this was before they traded for Carlos Correa, and I think they did so knowing that they are in talks with the Twins for Carlos Correa, maybe some other player, and they knew that, hey, let's just get a backup player, somebody that could potentially play third base, because we don't know how long that Paredes would be out. And so let's go ahead and have somebody that could play third base, maybe play some second base, and that type of sort. But you had way too many utility players with Urias, and then you had also Dubon. Dubon was set to make about 5.4, and Urias was set to make about 4.4. So he was DFAed today, and the Astros have about 2 days or so to trade him. And I guarantee there's going to be some team out there that will make a deal. Don't expect to get some rising prospect, but you'll get some lower level prospect in return, just because this guy will go quickly if he clears waivers.
Yeah, exactly. And, you have to make these moves because the name of the game is protecting assets that you have that you think are worthy. And look, I thought that maybe he might be packaged with 1 or 2 other players to move somewhere else, like a Jake Myers or someone like that for other teams that are looking for center field help. But at the end of the day, he came in, he served his purpose. He actually was serviceable. Guys like this aren't your superstars. Guys like this aren't key cogs in the wheel, but they are part of the ones that keep you going. And remember, this is a team that, despite all the injuries, was 1 game away from making the playoffs. Now, I am under no delusion that the Astros go make a deep playoff run and challenge the Dodgers for a World Series. But at the end of the day, if you make it, you're already better advanced, or you have a better chance of making it through the playoffs. And that's where the Astros are going with this, with the guys they bring on the roster, with the guys they're going to be looking at in spring training. Ullola, if he can get his control, if he can get his pitches under control, it will be great, Eric. But Ramon,
we haven't really brought his name up yet.
Well, but Ramon being off this roster obviously makes sense, because, I mean, you do have a logjam in the infield. And I think this means that Mauricio Dubon is safe. It's safe to say that he's going to be a Houston Astro in 2026. He won a second Gold Glove in 3 years. He has won 2 of the first 3 ever utility Gold Gloves, and he serves a purpose, and he's got a great relationship with guys like Yordan Alvarez and others in the clubhouse. And I think that speaks volumes for your ultimate utility man. Even though he's not a power hitter, he's not here to, it's like he said, Craig Biggio told him there are different ingredients to making a cake. And sometimes you got to be the salt. Everybody can't be the icing. Everybody can't be, he's got to be that ingredient for that day, for that winning recipe.
Yeah. So I'm going to throw a curveball towards you, Brett. Yeah. With Urias being DFAed off the roster, would you be as confident with Dubon staying on the roster if the Astros were to trade for Brendan Donovan?
I mean, Brendan Donovan is a left-handed bat, correct? And he's also a utility man, but I mean,
mostly second baseman.
Yeah. I mean, I don't see why not, because Dubon also can play the outfield. Remember, he's played every position except pitcher and catcher for the last 3 years in a row. He's the only guy to ever do that in Major League history. That's why. So
I was throwing that out there just because I think that Dubon is pretty safe no matter what the Astros decide to do, whether it's Paredes playing second base, very limited, or if they go out and trade for Donovan, or they decide to trade Walker. I think Dubon is going to have a spot on this team. I think that he is a big influencer in the clubhouse. I think that hit that relationship between him and Alvarez, that's pretty important in that clubhouse. And I don't think that you're going to see him going anywhere at this time while he's under contract. From after that, who knows what happens from there. But don't forget that there are some other moves. The Astros are at a 40-man. We'll talk about who the Astros added in the third segment. But the Astros are at 40 men right now after they added somebody today. But they are going to have to make some other additions at certain points. And the deadline to non-tender players is Friday. Is there any names that you still think that the Astros could non-tender?
You know what? I think Sanchez might be that guy, but hey, I do want to say this because there's a lot of comparisons between Dubon and Urias. Okay. They're essentially the same player when you look at their hitting statistics, but Dubon scored more runs. Dubon does have fewer home runs, but I mean, average wise, OPS wise, they're essentially the same player. There's not much that separates them outside of the fact that Dubon also can be an outfielder. So that's why I think he has the leg up on this competition, and the 2 Gold Gloves is huge.
And plus, he is Justin Verlander's personal center fielder. So if he comes back, as Brett said on his podcast, we'll go ahead and he'll be his personal center fielder again. But guys, we'll go and continue discussion. Y'all can go ahead and just let that sink in that Brett wants Justin Verlander. But I think all of us kind of want him to come back. But will he come back? Is that the only piece? What's going on? We'll go and continue the discussion. Thank you for making Locked On Astros podcast your first listen every day. Hey guys, did you hear who's number one? That's right. We are the number one Astros podcast out there, part of the number one podcast network out there, Locked On. So thank you for everydayers for helping us get in there. My name is Eric Huysman. He is Brett Chancey, and we have been doing this for over 18 years. And thank you for helping us getting to where we are. It's a lot different since I started this, 7 years ago. Then I brought Brett on 6 years ago. And it's just crazy how much we've grown from this one episode that I just happened to decide to throw up on YouTube about Shohei Ohtani. And it got 1,000 views, and then Locked On took notice, and we were one of the first teams on YouTube. So thank you, everydayers, for helping us get to where we are. But sometimes you've got to take those baby steps to get to where you want to go, and the Astros need to do that. And sometimes they have to protect players and make the decisions that are not always popular. And Miguel Ullola was one of those players that if you didn't protect him, somebody was going to pick him up, especially after the season he had last year.
Right.
And they were going to put him at the back of the bullpen at the very least and just see what he did as a Rule 5 draft. So you had to protect him. And so the Astros added him today ahead of the deadline to protect your players. And that's why you saw a whole bunch of random trades across baseball. The White Sox, by the way, added a whole bunch of people's great players today. And so basically the Astros had to let go of Urias just because of that situation. And I don't know. You're going to say something about Ullola earlier.
Well, I just think, this is a guy that spent pretty much the 2025 season in AAA, and he struck out 132 and 113 and 2/3 innings. Okay. He only gave up a 186 opponent batting average. He did walk 78 for 6.18 walks per 9, which is not great. So the control is an issue, okay? But this dude has an electric upper 90s fastball. He has a very good mid 80s slider that he has bat missability all mixed in. If he can stay in the strike zone, if this is a guy they can fix, then he can be very brilliant. Okay. He's not as bad as Enoli Paredes was once the crowd came to the stadium. Because remember when Enoli Paredes was on our team in 2020 when there was nobody in the stands? He was electric. But when the people showed up, he fell apart. Look, I don't blame him, because I remember when you and I were on opening day field holding the flag, I was nervous as heck, man. But also we remember not as extreme control issues, but Hunter Brown had a lot of control issues, and thus that kind of slowed when he came up in 2022, the year that he helped the Astros win the World Series and was a key role in the bullpen. So I think Ullola's still got a little bit to fix, but this guy has the spin. He has the stuff. And if they can get him focused on throwing strikes and getting the ball in the strike zone, then he can be someone that can contribute and be very, very effective at the major league level.
So if you're looking at which prospects the Astros did not protect from the Rule 5 draft, it's some pitchers actually had some good seasons. Alenber Santana, who's number 13 on the Astros top 30 list, and Jose Flurry, who's number 17.
Oh, wow.
So these are actually two guys that could easily be picked up by another team and put at the back of the bullpen and be kind of that mop-up guy and just sit there for a whole season. Then they are their property basically for the next 7 years. But let's say, I don't know the money. I think it's still $50,000. So let's say somebody drafts Santa. Basically, they would give the Astros $50,000. And then let's say Santa goes to spring training with the team. Let's just say hypothetically the Dragons, just make up a team because I don't want anybody drafting these guys. But just say the Dragons drafted him in the Rule 5 draft, and Santa goes to spring training with the Dragons, and then maybe he goes through April. Then the Dragons decide, hey, this guy's not going to work. Then they can offer him back to the Astros for $25,000. So that's how it used to be.
Why didn't you just say like the Dodgers? Or why did you just use a
team? I don't want any team like the Dodgers. I don't want any team taking these guys.
But if the hypothetical is he comes back to us, I could care where he goes temporarily. Yeah. Maybe we can steal some industry secrets from those guys. But yeah, that's the thing. And you know, the Rule 5 draft is just that. It's guys that you want to keep around and that you feel like you want to protect. And it's not foolproof. It is something where guys are protected all the time. Guys are unprotected, and they go off somewhere else and they do great things. I mean, look, Willer Abreu wasn't a Rule 5 guy, but Willer Abreu got away, okay? And everyone's like, I can't believe the Astros let him go. But before they let him go, he hadn't really done the things that you see him doing in Major League. Everybody has that quote unquote potential, but you never know until that person makes it to that point in their career. And so
Johan Santana was the worst Astro that got away through the Rule 5 draft.
You mean the best Astro that got away?
Sure. But worst in terms of the Astros losing.
Worst loss, best player.
Biggest loser, if you want to say it that way.
Biggest loser. Yeah. To bring back, that was a great show. But seriously, look, at the end of the day, the Houston Astros, I think, go into spring training with a lot of guys that have options. I love the way they're going into this, okay? Protecting Ullola. Also, you have on the heels of Dana Brown at the GM meetings talking about how Cam Smith is going to have to fight for his position in right field. I like their mentality. Basically, like, your job is not safe. Hey, Jose Altuve, you're a second baseman. You're going to have a statue. But you know what? We're thinking about trading for Brendan Donovan. I mean, everybody right now is looking.
You can find him at H-Town Wheelhouse.
I mean, am I not wrong in saying that look, Jose Altuve is not going to shy away from competition. Jose Altuve is not done. I mean, other fans have put him already in the grave, like the baseball grave, figuratively speaking. They're like, he's done. He's washed, blah, blah, blah. He's not done. And so I really expect someone like Altuve to have a really, really good year. I don't want to say breakout year, but I think he'll have a much better year than this last year. And the name of the game this year is I did not say that. Please.
That's exactly what you just said.
No, I said no. You took what I said way out of context. I said that they're looking to trade for Brendan Donovan that creates like competition, because Altuve, I think, more than likely plays a lot more second base. The thing about Donovan is he is a utility infielder. And so Astro Wolf Craig, who is a regular on our show, does say that they think that in St. Louis that it's going to take a big haul. What is that haul going to be? And do the Astros even have enough to offer St. Louis if that were to happen?
Because other teams are going to be trying to chase them. It's not just the Houston Astros. You got teams like the Yankees, the Dodgers. You got all the usual suspects that want a guy like Donovan. So it's just a matter of, do the Astros have the right material to prospect capital to get it done? Because it's not going to be somebody like Jake Myers. They have no interest in Jake Myers with only 2 years control. A team like the Dodgers, like the Phillies, they would have interest in somebody like Jake Myers, somebody that is a good defender. He may have a noodle arm, but he's still got he's a good defender out there. But I think that somebody was asking earlier about Framber Valdez. What offer did he decline? He declined the qualifying offer. And I don't know if we were clear about it earlier, but that's $22.25 million or something, some type of change. But that's a pretty big amount to decline. But some players like Trent Grisham, I believe that Graybar Torres, he also accepted. So 2 players accepted. This is the most in the season that have ever accepted the qualifying offer, because they knew that they probably would not get that on the open market.
Trent Grisham's like, you know what? I'm going to bet on me. I'm going to bet on myself. No, you're not Trent Grisham. You're taking $22 million to sit there in New York. Why wouldn't you get paid to play for the Pinstripes? Real quick, Eric, and going forward, other guys in this roster with talking about the Cam Smith thing, connecting it with all the guys that are going to be on the roster. Cam Smith, I think, could play center field. I think if they trade, let's just say they trade Jake Myers, you can move Cam Smith to center field. You can put Zach Cole, I think, a little bit easier in right field. I think center field's a little bit more cavernous and a little bit tougher to play. And Cam Smith's got the tools. The kid's fast. He's tall. I think Zach Cole profiles more as a right fielder, a corner outfielder than he does a center fielder. So you've got a lot of cool things that we could see happening this next year. I think this spring training is going to be exciting because of all the moving pieces going into 2026 season. And the opening day roster may not be what we think it is right now.
Well, that's what we're here for. We're here to kind of talk you through it, have a little bit of fun like we did tonight, poking around with the Justin Verlander and Jose Altuve thing. And just that's what we want to do. Like whenever there's kind of a somber moment when you know that you're not going to see La Grasa on the mound anymore for Houston Astros, we just want to kind of walk you through the offseason, and we'll be here. And thank you to the everydayers, people that make us part of your daily routine, whether it's on YouTube. Go and subscribe to us. Go and make us first listen. We're going to go ahead and take a deeper look as the Friday deadline approaches for the the non-tender deadline to see what players we think they might have to non-tender, because this is their chance. They probably got rid of $4.4 million today. So what could they shed some salary to maybe use for a Dylan Cease, maybe Michael Keane? There's ways for them to offload some salary. So there's a lot for us to discuss all off season. Don't think that just because the Astros didn't make the playoffs that they're done. They're going to go out and try to make the playoffs again. And my name's Eric Huysman. He's Brett Chancey. We thank you for making Locked On Astros podcast, the number one Astros podcast, part of the number one podcast network out there. And we will see you later. And make sure you check out Sully over at the Locked On MLB podcast. And we will see you tomorrow.
Go Stros. Don't put that on me, Ricky Bobby. Trying to tell me.
You said what you said.
That did not say I would trade Brendan Donovan.